Welcome, everyone, to Influential Leadership Tips. My name is Dave Miller.
And I'm John Hadley. Dave, I was reading an article, basically an interview with a CEO, and she said something that really got me thinking. She was talking about how does she hire? And one of the things she said was that if you're in the process of interviewing with us, I'll text you about something at 9 p.m. or 11 a.m. on a Sunday just to see how fast you'll respond. So then the question is, okay, so what's she looking for? Well, she said the right response time is within 3 hours. It's not that I'm going to bug you all weekend if you work for me, but I want you to be responsive. I think about work all the time. Other people don't have to be working all the time, but I want people who are also always thinking.
Yeah, now I would have expected, I thought you were going to say that if the person responded, she would not like that. Like she wanted to make sure you were taking your time off.
Right. And I think that's what a really enlightened leader looks for. Now, I get it. Maybe in her situation, she needs the people who are plugged in all the time and all, but it
depends on the job and the industry, I guess, and the expectations that are set, right?
Yes. But it strikes me that the best leaders, or the people I think of that I've worked with who I thought were the best leaders, were the ones who really respected the boundaries between work and life, and in fact encouraged you to take your life seriously. There's a thinking in a lot of situations, oh, you should always be reachable in an emergency. Okay, I get it. But what qualifies as an emergency?
Well,
suppose you're traveling, you're going to Europe with your family, and you have to carry a cell phone that you can be reached at from work. So what does that do? Well, I'm always aware that's there. I'm always thinking about I might get a call or what's going on. It keeps my mind plugged in back at the office a little bit. Now, if I never hear from you, if it's truly that it's only in emergencies and I've got things well established that it's very unlikely an emergency happens, I may be able to forget about it after a little while. But if it's even, I can think of many situations where someone says, oh, well, just call in for this one meeting while you're away. Well, what that does is it brings you mentally to the office. You're thinking about, where am I going to be when this call takes place? I got to mentally prepare for it a little bit. I got to think about what came out of it. So you don't get the complete break from work that you should on a vacation or a weekend or whatever. So that there's a lot of benefit to recharging effectively and really being unplugged. And so I think about it from when I started work, and I worked very hard. I'd take a lot of work home. I'd have a full inbox. I'd take stuff with me and work in the evening sometimes. But when we went on vacation, the best vacations I ever had were when we had at least 10 days away, and we didn't have cell phones, weren't being reachable, because it would take a few days to completely get myself out of thinking about work. And then at the end, as you're starting to come back, a few days before you come back, you start mentally thinking about what you're going to be facing again. So unless I was away for at least 10 days, I didn't get that solid 4 or 5 days to a week in the middle where I was completely in vacation mode and not thinking about work and getting that complete recharge. And that's really important. That's when I'd feel like I was away for a very long time.
Yeah, and I think, every work situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to decide what is best for you. And I think the thing that you said that really resonates with me is it's about drawing boundaries and enforcing those boundaries wherever they are. Some people may be in situations where they can't take 10 days, or that's a rare event when they can take 10 straight days. I agree with you. I think that's best. And I've seen leaders who are extremely busy running large firms, and they'll do that. They'll take 7 days, 4 times a year. And it was better before there were cell phones because they could really unplug and get away. I knew one leader that went on a cruise because he said no one could get in touch with me. And he would come up with some of his best strategies then. Not that because he was thinking about work all the time, but because he kind of got away from the day-to-day.
Oh, yeah.
Looking out over the water. And so we started out talking about this example of the weekend too, because there's vacations and then there's the weekend too. The key is you need to have some time, whether it's a day a week or a whole weekend or whatever, where you're not working. Some people work to live and some people live to work.
Right.
How are you going to balance it?
And it's amazing how big a difference it is when you take a week, just a weekend, and one weekend you're off, but you say, okay, I'm going to check email a couple of times, or I'm going to have my cell phone with me, versus a weekend where you just say, I'm going to unplug. I'm not even going to touch my laptop.
Right.
I'm not going to look at any of that stuff. And it's amazing how big a difference that makes in how you feel and how recharged you get for that weekend. So if you can do that even once in a while, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The other thing I think about as a leader is, what are you modeling? If I, as a leader, I say, okay, I want you all to respect the boundaries. I want you to, have your time off. But then they see me as always being connected and checking in on the weekends and the evenings. I'm kind of sending a signal that it's different for me. I'm also sending a signal that maybe I consider myself indispensable. And I think it's very powerful when a leader has built a team that he can feel is fully able to handle anything while he or she is gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now maybe I still say, okay, in an absolute emergency, here's where you can reach me.
Of course.
But I set very, make it really clear. And I had a boss like this who made it really clear, unless it was a real emergency, that absolutely has to be dealt with before I get back. Deal with it. And made it that the culture. But I want a team that's independent. I don't want to be perceived as indispensable, that I have to be there involved in every single thing that goes on, because that's not real leadership.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess the homework I would leave everyone with this week is, think about what's your behavior around this? What signals are you sending? What can you do to both create those unplugged times for yourself, and what can you do to ensure that that is going out to your team as well, that they are getting unplugged, or at least that they understand that they have not just permission, but a clear encouragement to unplug, because that will change the productivity level of your team when they are getting that recharged feeling, and they understand that that's the way you want to operate.
Yep, absolutely. Great tip, John.
So look forward to talking to you all next week.
And until then, be influential.